Well, I'm going to keep this introduction short because you'd rather listen to him than me, but I have to say this man started in Michigan, but we're lucky that he moved to the D.C. area. And he started by busking on the street. And he went to an open mic eventually, and somebody said, "Hey, you, we want you for our featured singer-songwriter," and he was off. And since then, he's played all over the place, the Cherry Blossom Festival and embassies and everywhere, and you're about to find out why. So please make welcome Rick Matthews.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody who put this together, because there's a lot of logistics behind putting together Glen Echo's festival every year, so it's very appreciated, and I understand they're all volunteers. And to my right is Jim Nagle. Jim Nagle plays what's called a dobro guitar. And if you haven't heard them before, they're delightful, they're magical, just like writing songs. So how many people can actually write songs or want to write songs? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Anybody else in the back? Okay. First time I sang a song live on the radio was I was like probably 5 years old. I had an Elvis Presley jacket at the time, and it was the first year he came out to be a famous hayride, rockabilly type of guy. And it was striped like his jacket, so I called him Elvis Presley jacket. I've still got a picture of that somewhere. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about songwriting and what the song structures and the elements of a good song are, or at least a song. And when I talk about each element, none of them really have the most priority over one or the other. They're all kind of a cauldron. It's a mix, and it can be a very magical mix, or it can be a horrible mix if you don't do it right. And there is a difference between a song that's really well crafted and a popular song. For example, we all know Chuck Berry, and he's done a lot of older rock and roll songs like Memphis and a few others. But what his most famous song was called My Ding-a-ling, which was his only #1 song. And you go, okay, well, some of his other songs I think actually work better for most audiences, but I guess it was a sign of the times. So there is a difference between a well-crafted song and a popular song. And so the first parts of a song that you want to look at least the elements, the first thing is probably the structure. It's like the human body, and you got a skeleton. And so the structure you end up with, and there's different ways to look at the structure. You can have a verse, another verse, a chorus, a bridge, a verse, and a chorus, and then end with a refrain. And that is one type of structure, but you can shift those around to be different. What I've done with some of my songs, and you'll hear at least maybe 1 or 2 of them, is I'll put in initially a verse, and then I'll take the lead instrumental, and Jim will play that, and then we'll move back into the element, which is the melody of the song. So that's the second part. First will be those structures, and you want to have the melody or the segments of the song pretty set, and you don't want to change them too much because people do like predictability in music. Really, if they want to sing along with you and they want to play guitar or piano or whatever musical instrument they play in order to copy your song or cover your song, which is really kind of an honor, I think. And then there's a melody, which tends to be it's really the voice of your music, and you've got the lyrics that then have usually you've got the imagery in there, and you tell a story with the lyrics. And with lyrics, you don't want them to be the same all the way through. You want to change them. You want to come up with phrases that are pretty unique, and sometimes they just come to you. Sometimes you got to study. Sometimes if you're really big, I think what's really important, if you're really a strong reader and you've been a good reader for your whole life, lots of things come at you and they just pop out. And sometimes they're deeply submerged in your psyche, but they will emerge when you're trying to write songs. And so I think that's really important with the melody, and then the lyrics, which have to be, I think, should be somewhat poetic. And so you tie that imagery together, and you end up with songs that I think in a lot of respects, I almost visualize some of my songs and other people's songs as visual imageries. They're almost like you can have a video of the songs and they tell a story. So I think it's really important to tell those stories, and you get different types of inspiration. So we'll play a few songs, And I think along with these elements of what a good song is, or what these elements should be for a song, I think one of the hardest part for a lot of people is, how do you write a song? What do you start with? And so we'll talk about inspiration, and I'll go through some of the songs I've written and what inspired me to write certain songs. Now, that doesn't mean that I've got some great inspiration. It may be that, well, I'll tell you what, in one, which we'll probably do, is I bought a guitar, and I let it set for a day because you wanted to acclimate to your house, because you don't want it to be wonky right away. And so the next morning I wrote this song, and it'll be probably the second song this thing. Unless you want to do it first, okay. And songs don't have to be real complex. I mean, people tend to think, okay, I need to change this up a lot. The melody, you want to change the chords a lot, and then you get the melody that ties into that. Well, I found there's one song that was done by, you may not remember this group, but the Arbors. They had a song that was one chord all the way through. That was over, under, sideways, down. And so you can play a G chord, and you go through the whole song, you're, oh, it's one chord. So, but the melody on that will complement what they were doing with their rock song. And so I've got a song that's 3 chords, and if you play guitar, well, anything I suppose, with those 3 chords, I'm going to play the same 3 chords, same sequence throughout the whole song. And so the melody will change and shift, but the sequence of the chord structure will stay the same. This song I wrote around 2018. It's one of the first songs I wrote when I came back to playing. I stopped for about 30 or 40 years. I was busking in the streets of D.C. back in the 70s. And played a couple clubs, and then I ended up playing for dogs and cats and girlfriends, and eventually my wife. So this song came out around 2018, and I went to a singer-songwriter camp with John McCutcheon. If you know him, he's got about 60 albums out. He's a national treasure in my view. And he wanted people who came to his workshop to have 2 songs that they'd written. So I wrote this song under pressure to get it done in order to go down to what's called the Highlander in Tennessee. Ready, John? So this is called Appalachian Hollow, and it is about disenfranchised women around the world. It starts out with a woman from Appalachia, and then at the end you'll see that I expanded it to the rest of women in the world lyrically. And this is a 1946 Gibson J45. I had that question in. Well, this traded it a long time ago. Flying high on 2018, and I think what's critical when you write songs is it should be understandable. You should be telling the story, so there should be a beginning, there should be an end, and there should be a resolution, which I'll mention in a few minutes. And they need to be cohesive. So that was only 3 chords, and you noticed if you play guitar that I'm playing the same 3 chords over and over again. But the song does sound different because of the melodic line that I'm using for the lyrics, and the lyrics all kind of fit together. So the song started about when I first wrote it, it was about a woman in Madagascar, so it was going to be a foreign person at first, and then I decided I wanted to make that an American folk song, and from there I changed it to Appalachia, a woman in Appalachia who was poor and disenfranchised and really had no escape from her situation, or it was risky to escape, I suppose. So let's do another song. Let's do it's on the same board. Let's do like 3 years later. I ended up buying, like I said, a 1950 Gibson CF100, which has a really beautiful Florentine cutaway here. It was actually built in 1949. And when I bought it, there was some scribble on the back that somebody took a pen knife, and put in some inscription that was like from Dad to Joyce, 1949, 14 years old. Stayed in the same family until I bought it, which about 2 years ago. And so I ended up finding out who the second person was. If you look further down the neck, then Joy, when she was older, she bequeathed the guitar to her son in 1985, and so she etched in the guitar from Mom to Mark, and she kept the guitar till 2010 when she passed away. But she gave it to him in 1985, so she loved the guitar. So, and I've got a photo of the guitar back in 1949 or 1950. It was a 1950 model, but you could buy them in 1949, just like I think it used to be with cars. And so, like I said, I took that guitar, and once I got it, I let it sit for a day to acclimate to my house environment. And from there, I sat down and tuned it up and wrote this song. It didn't take too long, maybe half an hour, and I poked around with it a little bit afterwards, but not much. This is called Working Overtime. It's a real country song. And that family actually was from Southern Virginia, so we brought the guitar back from Ohio into Virginia, and it was down in Grayson County, which is where Galax is, where Bluegrass was, and the grandfather of Mark, his name is Emmett Lundy, and Emmett won the first gold medal in Galax for fiddler. So it's got a history. So Working Overtime, ready? in writing songs, not only do you want to have a decent melody, you want to have lyrics that actually make sense. And so I think that song does. I think the other song does it as well. And another thing that's what I find interesting, since I kind of come back to playing music again, I was told, okay, you don't want to have your song over 4 minutes or 4.5 minutes. And so I looked that up, and back in the 1950s, songs were like 2 minutes and 36 seconds, and that was kind of what you wanted back in the 50s. So you go back and listen to these old songs, and they were shorter than they were in the 60s or the 70s. And so it sort of stayed that way. 4 minutes and 36 seconds tends to be what people want to do. 4 minutes is actually you're perfect. But then you look at some songs that actually were very famous. You look at Hey Jude. Hey Jude was 7 minutes and 12 seconds long. You look at the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, which was 6 minutes and 20 seconds long. So what you want to do, I think what you want to do is you want to make your song be what it is. First write your song, and then figure out where it fits. And it may not fit on the radio. It may, thank you. It needs to be itself. And one thing I found out that once you have it recorded, you'll find out that song belongs to itself. It doesn't belong to you anymore. And you'll go, well, wait a minute, that isn't really how I, especially if somebody else covers it. You'll go, well, that's not really what I wrote. Well, it is what you wrote, but somebody took it and they may have elevated it and make it better. You're just used to the way it sounds with you playing it with the guitar. And I've done that a couple times and went, whoa, that's a real country song when they did it. So, what do you want to do?
Let's do
We've got about 5 or 6 songs, but we're running out of time. So,
Maria.
She's Better Than Me, Hollywood Divine.
Not Maria?
We could do Maria on a word, but let's do She's Better Than Me. It's kind of a fun song. It's a little pop. We're on 4, right? So his tape was different than mine, so I tend to forget that. So.
He plays out of C. I need to be 2 lower than him, so I'm not way up trying to play an F chord.
All right, so this song is, I wrote this pretty fast, probably less than a year ago. It's called She's Better Than Me, which is generally the case. So this is a tribute to women around the world. Ready? Up in the mirror, you started to dance. You threw me a line with her eyes more than a hit of romance. She whispered with her ruby red lips, come on over, we'll be a hit or a miss, take a chance. She thinks she's better than me, well maybe to a certain degree, but something in her eyes, something I can't see. Till we dance. All right, Jim. Till we dance. I like the way she looks from afar. She said the devil's in the details and she hopped over the door into my car. She's got me under her wheels and show me just how tables turn feel will go far. Something in her eyes, something I can't see. Till we dance. Do we dance? Do we dance? Do we dance? Good time for one more? Yeah? All right, well, let's do that. This song is about a redhead. Any redheads in the audience? I used to be. Now I'm gray. Or white. You actually turned white, not gray. I didn't know. I was Auburn here for a long time. So this is about a redheaded... Is it a short one? It's pretty short, I think. Yeah. Okay, so this is about a woman who's fell in love with her, and years later, he thought about her again. So. She had a long hair, shown her way so fair, claimed she'd love to take me home. I didn't stand a chance, her eyes would smile, her eyes would dance, no bitterness and no sad song. Ooh, she loved me well. Ooh, she loved me well. Just a boy, nothing very special then. I hadn't written her a single tune. Her playful truth or dare soon would steal our innocence. Neither she nor me would truly care. She loved me well. She loved me. Said you love me so true. I didn't know just what a man should do. And in the morning we'd lie in bed, old and new memories, the more loving words were said. To the fair and whispered, please, young man, take me home. And it was right around there she gave me a ruby cross affair, leaving parts before unknown exposed. Ooh, she loved me well. Ooh, she loved me well. Ooh, she loved me well. Strangers or just friends. In the morning we'd lie in bed, old and new memories, and all loving words were said. I didn't stand a chance, her eyes had smiled, her eyes had danced, no bitterness, and that's why I wrote this song. You know it may sound strange, the gift of love, it still remains a love once was, sometimes it hangs around. Ooh, she loved me well. Ooh, she loved me. Ooh, Red loved me well.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for listening.